Welcome to today's deep dive. We have a really highly focused mission for this one.
We do.
Yeah. We are going to examine basically a microcosm of the learning process, like
Yeah.
the entire human journey of trial, error, growth, and in readiness. And we're doing it all through a single super specialized source.
It's such an interesting source too.
It really is. It's a blog post titled Notes on Fishkeeping Part 324, Revisiting the Dario with a question mark at the end.
Right.
And this was published on August 22nd, 2026 by an author similarly known as Eng.
Yeah, it's a remarkable piece of text. We're really looking at a window into the ongoing, cyclical journey of a seasoned aquarist, just kind of reflecting on their past choices.
Right.
And it's not a beginner's guide at all. It's very introspective.
No, not at all. And just to jump in on that title, like Notes on Fishkeeping Part 324. I
Yeah.
mean, Part 324,
It's wild.
that implies just a massive level of dedication, right?
Absolutely.
Like it's sometimes the most profound insights about learning and curiosity. They come from these highly specialized, totally niche hobbyist journals.
Oh, completely. Because when you look at that title, Part 324, it implies years of weekly or maybe even daily observation.
Yeah.
It implies a person who is deeply entrenched in the rhythms of aquatic life.
Right. They're not a novice.
Yeah, exactly. So to really understand where Eng is starting from in this specific journal entry, I want you to imagine something.
Okay.
Usually when we think about the natural world, there is this expectation of earthy subtlety, right?
Mhm. Yeah, totally. You picture muted greens, browns,
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
a quick flash of primary color on a bird's wing or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when you see a neon sign blinking in a city window, you instantly know humans made it.
Oh, for sure.
It's artificial. It is the ultimate symbol of manufacturing.
Our brains immediately categorize that kind of luminescence as synthetic.
Yes.
Like it stands out because it doesn't match the baseline palette that we associate with biology.
But then, imagine stepping into an untouched ancient jungle,
Okay.
and you see a creature with those exact same blinding neon colors.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Suddenly, your mental categorization is completely broken.
It is a really jarring experience to look at nature and basically assume it was manufactured.
Right. And that assumption, that immediate jump to this must be fake, it's a fascinating entry point into how we process new information.
It highlights a cognitive shortcut, right?
Exactly. Our brains take this shortcut to avoid short-circuiting when we encounter something that violates our expectations.
Which is exactly what happened to Aang here.
Yes.
In this 324th journal entry, they write about an encounter with a fish called the Glowlight Dario.
The scientific name is danio-choprai.
Right, danio-choprai. And Aang explicitly admits that upon first seeing this fish, they genuinely thought it was a genetically modified creature.
Which again is a telling admission from someone who is clearly not a novice.
Right, because of the 324 entries.
Exactly. Even with all that experience, all that time looking at fish, their immediate reaction to this specific fish was to assume human intervention.
Because, as it turns out, the Glowlight Dario is a 100% natural, tiny, or nanofish species.
It's completely
Yeah,
down.
it is not modified in a lab at all. The name Glowlight comes entirely from its natural neon orange stripe.
It's an illusion of artifice.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this because it's like seeing a wildly vibrant sunset in a photograph.
Right.
And you immediately assume someone cranked up the saturation in Photoshop.
Oh, yeah, you think it's filtered.
Exactly, only to realize, no, nature actually just did that on its own.
The sunset analogy works perfectly here.
Yeah.
We all carry a baseline for what we consider natural versus artificial.
Right.
And when we are confronted with startling new information that crosses that baseline, our intellect just struggles to process it in isolation.
We assume engineering.
Yes. We assume engineering because the alternative, that our fundamental understanding of nature's limits is flawed, well, that requires a lot more cognitive energy to accept.
It's easier to just say, oh, it's fake.
Exactly.
And Aang actually notes that this natural neon orange stripe looks incredibly similar to another fish in the hobby, which is the Glowlight Tetra.
And that connection is vital to understanding the mechanics of learning.
How so?
Well, when Aang saw this startling, rule-breaking neon stripe on the Dario, their brain didn't just freeze.
Right.
It immediately reached for a familiar reference point, the Glowlight Tetra.
Ah,
We
okay.
use the known to make sense of the unknown.
Yeah, nice sense.
Aang couldn't easily process the Glowlight Dario on its own terms yet, so they built a cognitive bridge to the Glowlight Tetra.
Just to ground the experience in something recognizable.
Exactly.
It's the classic, I don't know what this new food is, but the texture sort of reminds me of chicken response.
Yes,
We desperately need an anchor when we are out of our depth.
we do. It is a mental shortcut that allows us to file away new data without becoming overwhelmed.
Right.
But filing the information away is merely the first step.
Right, because theory is different from practice.
Exactly. Understanding what a fish is visually and understanding how to sustain its life within a closed ecosystem, those require two entirely different skill sets.
Which brings us right to the reality check of this journal entry.
Yeah, the hard part.
Yeah, because Aang didn't just marvel at the Glowlight Dario, figure out it was natural, and then live happily ever after with a thriving tank.
No, the transition from theory to practice is rarely that smooth.
No, it isn't. Aang writes that compared to other tiny fish species, the Dario had generally been on their long-pending list to explore.
It was a goal for them.
It was, but then they confessed to having what they call mixed results in keeping them previously.
Ah, mixed results.
Yeah, and because of these mixed results, Aang shifted their focus entirely away from these tiny nanofish and dedicated a long time to keeping cichlids instead.
It is a very measured way to describe what must have been a highly frustrating period.
Right, and I want to push back on the phrasing of the text here for a second.
Okay, go for it.
So what does this all mean? When a seasoned hobbyist, someone dedicating this much time to a journal, admits to mixed results and pivots entirely to a completely different species for a long time,
Yeah.
isn't that just a diplomatic way of saying they hit a massive wall, failed, and needed an easy win somewhere else to rebuild their confidence?
Well, you're right to read between the lines there.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call the pivot to cichlids an easy win.
Okay.
Missed results is certainly a euphemism, though.
Definitely.
In the context of a complex hobby like aquatics, which involves living, breathing ecosystems, mixed results usually implies an incredibly steep learning curve that the hobbyist wasn't prepared for.
It implies instability.
Exactly. In an aquarium, if things aren't stable, the ecosystem collapses.
And things die.
Yes. That is a heavy burden for a hobbyist to carry.
It implies that things didn't go the way the forum posts or the textbooks said they would.
Right.
And yeah, maybe they lost some fish along the way. That carries a specific kind of guilt.
Exactly that. The guilt of failure in this space is palpable.
Oh, I'm sure.
But the deeper takeaway from the text isn't the failure itself.
What is it then?
It is the profound self-awareness Aang demonstrated in response to it.
Oh, interesting.
Think about it. We live in a culture that constantly preaches a never give up, grind through the obstacle mentality.
Oh, yeah, the whole hustle culture thing.
Right. But Aang didn't stubbornly keep slamming their head against the wall with the Dario.
They stopped.
They recognized the limits of their own knowledge at that specific moment in time.
Yeah.
They consciously chose to step away from the nanofish and explore cichlids instead.
Which is so hard to do.
It is.
Like, it feels like quitting. If you set a goal to keep this beautiful neon fish and you just walk away, it feels like a defeat.
It feels like a defeat if you view learning as a straight line. But stepping away isn't always quitting. Often, it is a strategic retreat.
A strategic retreat. I like that.
Yeah, because when we hit a wall in our own learning processes, the instinct is usually to either give up entirely in a fit of frustration,
Right.
or to rigidly force the issue until we burn out completely.
Yeah, you just rage quit or you burn out.
Exactly.
Hmm.
But Aang chose a third option.
Right.
They took their curiosity and they applied it to a different challenge where they could continue to learn and adapt.
It's like active recovery.
Yes.
I think about this like a weightlifter.
Okay.
If you can't hit a personal record on your bench press, you don't just keep lying on the bench, dropping the heavy bar on your chest every single day, hoping it magically gets lighter.
Right. That would be a terrible idea.
Right. You go work on your shoulders, you work on your triceps.
Yes.
So you do something else for a long time to basically build the surrounding musculature.
The weightlifting analogy works conceptually,
Right.
for sure. But in the context of an aquarium, it's less about building muscle and more about building a tolerance for managing microscopic systems.
Okay, that makes sense.
By keeping cichlids, which are entirely different in their behaviors and requirements, Aang was developing systemic knowledge.
Wait, how so? What is the actual mechanism there?
Right.
Like, how does keeping one type of fish prepare you for a completely different tiny fish?
So Even without diving into the specific chemistry of Aang's tanks, the general mechanics of the hobby remain the same.
Okay.
Keeping robust fish teaches you the core mechanics of ecosystem management.
Right, right.
You learn to intimately understand the nitrogen cycle. You learn how biological filtration handles waste.
Oh, okay.
You learn to observe subtle behavioral changes in the fish before a crisis occurs.
So you're building that foundation.
Exactly. You are building foundational knowledge, the surrounding musculature, as you called it.
Yeah.
But you are doing it in an environment that might be a bit more forgiving of beginner mistakes than a super delicate nanofish setup.
So you're basically internalizing the rules of the game on a different difficulty setting.
That's a great way to frame it. You build an intuitive sense for when water parameters are shifting.
Right.
So the long time Aang spent with the cichlids wasn't wasted time away from the Dario.
No.
It was the necessary groundwork for their eventual return.
And that brings us to the present-day reality of this journal entry, which is really the emotional core of the whole text.
Yes.
After the initial jarring assumption about it being fake, after the humbling mixed results, after the long detour into the world of cichlids,
Yeah.
we arrive at Aang's concluding thought. They look back at the Glowlight Dario and write, quote, "Perhaps this is the right time to revisit them."
Perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps.
Notice the humility in that word choice.
It's huge.
It isn't a boastful declaration of victory.
Yes. And for me, this is where the text becomes incredibly relatable.
Oh, absolutely.
It has that universal feeling of circling back to an old hurdle. Here's where it gets really interesting. It's like when you abandon a really dense, difficult book because you just can't penetrate the prose.
Oh, I've been there.
Right. Or you give up on a complicated recipe that just keeps failing.
Yeah.
Or, and this is the one I relate to the most, you walk away from an insanely hard video game boss that you've been stuck on for weeks.
Oh, man, yeah.
You just get fed up, you put the controller down, and you walk away.
And there is often a lingering sense of unfinished business when you do that.
A massive sense of unfinished business.
Yeah.
So you go do other things for a long time, you play other games,
Right.
and then, maybe years later, you pick that old game back up.
And what happens?
The code on the disc hasn't changed. That boss level is exactly as mathematically difficult as it was the day you quit.
Right.
But when you play it now, you beat it on the first try.
Because you have leveled up in the meantime.
Exactly. The challenge remains static, but your capacity expanded.
And the Dario didn't get any easier to keep either.
Right. The fish is the same.
The danio-choprai still requires whatever complex care and specific environmental parameters led to those initial mixed results.
Yeah.
The biology of the fish is a constant.
Mm-hmm.
What changed is the person standing in front of the glass.
The person who has now written 324 journal entries.
Yes. The significance of returning to the Dario now is immense.
It really is.
Aang is bringing the accumulated patience, the sharpened observational skills, and the systemic ecosystem knowledge gained during their long time away.
Yeah.
They are approaching the same exact problem, but with a completely upgraded set of tools.
They are fundamentally a different aquarist now than they were during the mixed results era.
They are, and this touches on a very profound aspect of how human beings acquire new skills.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, in traditional education, we are often taught that learning is a linear track, right?
Like a straight line.
Exactly. You start at grade 1, you move to grade 2, you master topic A before you're allowed to touch topic B.
Right.
But Aang's journal entry demonstrates that adult learning, real-world learning, is rarely a straight line.
It's more cyclical?
I would call it an upward spiral.
Ooh, an upward spiral. I like that.
Yeah. You encounter a concept, you struggle, and perhaps you fail.
Right.
So you swing far away from it to explore other things. You build peripheral skills.
The cichlids.
Exactly. And eventually, the orbit of your curiosity brings you right back to the original challenge.
Wow.
You are circling the same exact point, but because of the time you spent away, you were approaching it from a higher elevation.
An upward spiral. That completely reframes how we should look at the things we've walked away from in the past.
It does, doesn't it?
It totally strips away the guilt of quitting.
Yeah.
It wasn't a permanent failure. It was just the wrong point in the orbit.
Exactly.
The systemic knowledge just wasn't there yet.
The readiness wasn't there.
Right.
And readiness isn't something you can force through sheer willpower.
No.
It is something you accumulate quietly while you were busy focusing on other things.
Yeah.
You know, the transition from mixed results to perhaps this is the right time, that is the sound of readiness finally crystallizing.
This has been such a massive journey pulled from just a few lines of a blog post.
It really is rich material.
It's incredible. So to quickly summarize the arc we've traced through Aang's entry today.
Yeah, let's recap.
We started with that jarring assumption of artifice, right? Looking at the blinding neon orange stripe of the Glowlight Dario and assuming genetic modification because it just broke our mental model of what nature should look like.
Right, the saturation slider.
Exactly. We then navigated the humbling reality of mixed results in the tank.
A hard part.
Yeah, which forced a strategic retreat, a long, vital detour into keeping cichlids to build foundational ecosystem knowledge.
The musculature.
Yep. And finally, we reached that quiet, powerful realization that after all this time, the readiness has naturally arrived.
Yeah.
The decision to finally revisit the tiny fish that started it all.
It is a brilliant micro story about the patience required for genuine mastery.
It really is. And for you listening, the learner, this single journal entry is a perfect blueprint for how we all process challenging new information.
Absolutely.
It validates the confusion of encountering something new. It normalizes the frustration of setbacks. And most importantly, it champions the courage required to circle back to the things that once defeated us.
It does. And if we take the core theme of Aang's writing, returning to past challenges with new readiness,
Yeah.
it leaves us with an important question to reflect on.
What's that?
It makes you wonder, what is your personal Dario?
Oh, wow.
What is that one difficult subject, that complex professional project, or that intimidating hobby you walked away from in the past because you experienced your own mixed results?
That's a great question.
Think about the diverse skills and the surrounding musculature you have built in the meantime.
Yeah.
You might just find that today you finally have the systemic knowledge to step out of the muted jungle, revisit that blindingly bright challenge, and actually conquer it.